I've seen homeless people literally take a shirt off their back to give to another homeless person. I was surprised by how many people were getting up early to go to jobs. And I was just like, wow, of course they have jobs. It took a year for her to finally call back and say, I think I'm ready to get help. She is housed now. The truth is, even if every person experiencing homelessness, I waved a wand and went boop, and they could all be fully employed, we couldn't house them. We couldn't. Resourcefulness and how people take care of each other.
Today's guest spent more than 10 years inside Sacramento County behavioral health system. And today, she's revealing the people most Sacramentans never heard of, whose decisions changed thousands of lives. It started with one leader, Sherry Green. She looked outside her own office, saw the growing encampment crisis, and asked a simple question. What if we stopped waiting for people to come to us and started bringing help to them? But ideas like that don't happen their own. They need someone willing to believe in them. She explains why Dr. Ryan Quist backed the program early, helping turn one idea into a model that's now reaching hundreds of people across Sacramento County. This isn't the story you have heard in the headlines. It's the story of the people behind them. Let's get into it. Monica.
Yes.
Before the title, working in Sacramento County, you were a therapist, right?
Yes, I was a therapist at a crisis residential program, and I saw a lot of people experiencing homelessness in that program, and that's kind of what got me into everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before you joined Sacramento County, you used to work in?
At Turning Point,
Right.
Actually a county contracted provider, and I was a family therapist, and then I became a therapist and clinical director in a residential facility. And these were folks stepping down from the psychiatric hospital, but they weren't quite ready to join the community yet. So they would come to stay with us for 15 to 30 days. And a lot of them, I would say a majority of them, were experiencing homelessness. And I saw the struggles they went through to try to get out of homelessness. And I just saw how many hoops they had to jump through and how many challenges they were having. And I started communicating a lot with the county. And I felt I'd have an opportunity to help that community more working for the county. And so that's why I joined. And I think you've met Sherry. I knew Sherry because she was actually a contract monitor for my program. And I enjoyed working with her and her passion so much. I went over and joined the team when I knew she had an opening. Yeah.
So when you worked in Turning Point, then you got an opportunity to work at county, Ms. Green, and you guys came together.
Yes.
So when working in Turning Point and now working in Sacramento County,
Yes.
what are the changes you see working in two different organizations?
I'll be honest, not that much, because they're county contracted and they do a lot of that direct service work. And another thing I really appreciated about the opportunity to work with them was they hired people with lived experience. So I hired somebody who had gone through our program. He had stepped down. He was experiencing homelessness. He got back on his feet and he applied for a position with us. And I don't know if he still works there, but he was still working there when I left. So I think that gave me an opportunity to work with peers, people with lived experience. And the county wasn't doing that yet. Luckily, about halfway into my career, the county did start hiring people with lived experience, and our first peer staff for the homeless engagement and response team was homeless. She was still living in a shelter when she got hired with us. And she's amazing. She is still with us. She has been promoted, and she's one of our most senior staff, and just an example of how people who've gone through it have a lot of valuable information and support they can give people. Because as a therapist, it's really easy to say you need to do this and you need to do that. But as a person who was homeless with mental health issues, now employed, she can say, look, I did it, you can do it. these are the steps you can take. And then they pair up with a therapist. So you have that peer and the therapist together makes a great team. So the peer kind of breaks the ice and builds the rapport and trust. And the therapist comes in and assesses the person and actually links them to our services. And a lot of times they'll attend the first couple of appointments and kind of hold their hand to make sure they get engaged and actually start receiving the treatment. So I think that was the biggest change, was how much the county started investing, not only funding, but staffing and effort to start serving the homeless community, because it's only expanded, unfortunately, since I started working for the county. About 10 years ago, homelessness has continued to increase here in Sacramento and across the state, unfortunately.
Wow, that's quite a story. It's very remarkable. So if I heard you right, Monica, you started the HEART program?
Sorta. I can't take complete credit for it. Yes, I hired a gentleman and we did a pilot where we had a lot of encampment issues around the office. And we thought, let's do an experiment. Like, maybe we can bring the services to them, bring the connection to them. So Michael Young, he was excellent and is excellent. He went out and just walked around the encampments, making friends with folks, just trying to build that rapport. And his approach was excellent. His approach, he would always say, no shame, no blame. He appreciated that homelessness has its own culture. So we started seeing people not only accepting services, but actually going to their first appointment. And sometimes, again, he helped people get to that first appointment. So the encampment has since been cleared. It was an effort between ourselves, Community Health Works, even local law enforcement, where there was extensive outreach done to that encampment. And again, we saw it clear and we saw people actually get engaged. So with that success, we were able to expand the team. So yes, I did hire the OG who started it all and started the pilot. Since then, we have hired, I believe, a total of 10 therapists and 10 therapists and 12 peers who pair up and go all over the community. They go to encampments. They go into shelters. We have noticed that people who are in a shelter are 3 times more likely to go to their first appointment than somebody living on the street. And it makes absolute sense because they're not struggling to survive every day. So it's a lot easier to take care of your business. So we still do encampments, but we also have increased our efforts within the shelters too, especially including the shelter there at East Parkway. We have behavioral health staff that go there daily, and we do programs, and we have a great relationship with the shelter staff. So we can coordinate care. They can kind of tell us what's going on. And again, we can kind of follow up and tell them what the client plan is, where they might need support. Obviously, this is with the client permission, but with client permission, we do a lot of collaboration, and it works quite well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very inspiring, Monica.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. So if I'm going to share stories, at one of the shelters, one of the safe stays, I went by on the weekend and I was wearing the HEART shirt, and I don't know how many people came up to me and said, I'm here because of the team. That meant they were sheltered because of the team. They were all pretty pleased to be there. It's a pretty great program. They have their little sleeping cabins, so they have their own independent space. Dog park, so people have pets everywhere. A really great environment, and they offer not only our behavioral health services, because we're there also, but our partners in our substance use prevention team also go there. There's office space dedicated to our efforts. So that's been very exciting. We have definitely seen improvement in connection to services for folks that are sheltered. Yeah, it's just the reality of it. So we try very hard for folks who are experiencing homelessness to connect them to an agency that's as close as possible for them. And like I said, those initial appointments will support them and take them in and make sure they get treatment.
So this type of story should be shared in social media more than anything else. If you turn on TV or if you talk to like a regular folks in the street, the government doesn't do anything. The county doesn't do anything. But while you are sharing that You started your journey with county more than 10 years ago, and you and Mr. Young started a pilot program.
Yep.
So for the people who don't know about HEART, what's the meaning of HEART?
HEART, Homeless Engagement and Response Team, and because they all have heart. I know it's a terrible pun, but they really do. People who join our team want to work with people experiencing homelessness. They're not just simply trying to get a job, because there's much easier clinical and peer positions in the county than folks who have to wear like safety boots and cooling towels, because they're out there in this heat, going into encampments, going down by the river. Sometimes we're responding to complaints or things our partners have heard. So HEART, because it takes heart to do this work. The floods back in 2023, our staff was out there in that weather, making sure people were coming up closer to safety or trying to encourage them to get into shelter. My staff volunteered to do overtime or donate their time at the shelters when there was the weather emergency. So again, we are looking for people with a passion for this population, and our team has it. So that's really the only way I could describe it. You have to have a passion for the work and the compassion for the work, and that team really, really does.
It takes a lot of courage, compassion, and empathy to work with our
Yes.
unhoused population, of course.
Yes.
So the great thing about HEART, your program, the county programs, and your team is incredible that you guys don't sit behind the desk. You go to
Nope.
the encampment,
Yep.
go to the shelters, and making sure that meeting people where they need the service.
Yep.
So can you walk me through a typical day, how your team members helps our community people?
This is a good one. Thank you for asking. I think I'll talk about the county city agreement. My colleague, Kate Paulson, is excellent. She's kind of taking over the HEART team as I step back to do more administrative work. The day starts where Kate would actually meet with local law enforcement, code enforcement, the homeless outreach team, and they will work together to identify what we consider hot spots, where it's people that we can tell are struggling. And luckily, we have a great relationship with our partners in the city, and they've gotten to kind of learn where an encampment is kind of just prime and ready for that outreach. They will tell Kate, these are the spots we need to go. This is where we're having problems. For example, we know there's a senior over there with mobility issues. That person really needs help. So ideally, when everybody's available, it would be one of our HEART staff, a clinician, possibly code enforcement, possibly community health works. And it's, again, we bring the resources to them. So they would go to the encampment if they're brand new visitors. The first time you go to somebody's home, you're not going to try to convince them to do stuff. You're just there to kind of connect with them, maybe give them a bottle of water, a granola bar, and what are their immediate needs. Again, people have a hard time engaging if they don't have their immediate needs taken care of. And it helps to build that trust. So after a couple of visits, we start having conversations with them about their struggle. You're not going to get a lot of traction if you just walk up to somebody and say, I think you're mentally ill and I want to enroll you in services. You're not going to make much traction. But saying, I can see that you're struggling. Do you have trouble sleeping sometimes? Are you feeling anxious? Are you struggling with substances? And again, it's from a no shame, no blame place. And we just have a conversation about what can we do to get you out of homelessness? What kind of support can we give you? And so that's how we start the conversation. I would say some of the most common diagnosis we see out there, which makes absolute sense, is we see people struggling with depression. We see people struggling with trauma. Unfortunately, if people weren't traumatized or didn't have depression before they became homeless, homelessness causes mental illness. You'll see people who maybe when they first became homeless were like, okay, I can handle this. I'm resilient. I'm going to get back on my feet within 3 months. But after 3 months of no change, of nobody returning your calls, not getting into shelter, you see people experience depression really quick. So it's a conversation you can have with people, because instead of trying to make it all about their mental illness. We acknowledge that homelessness and the struggle to get out of homelessness is contributing to their problems. And it makes it a little bit easier for people to have those conversations, because it's not about, oh, what's wrong with me? It's about what's wrong with everything around you that is contributing to your issues. So by approaching it that way, it's a lot easier to get people to have a conversation with you. Even if somebody is actively experiencing psychosis and having hallucinations, you could still have a conversation about how it's getting hard to find a place to stay or food to eat, and how that's impacting you. And again, how having support people, a therapist, a case manager would help that. So that's the approach the team uses, and it's excellent. We had a client that it took a year for her to finally call back and say, you know what, I think I'm ready to get help. She is housed now. So it's pretty amazing the work they do. Let's be honest, a lot of people have an aversion with working with people experiencing homelessness. Encampments aren't always the most pleasant place to go. They could be for some people might even consider it dangerous. So our team, they're out there. The stray dogs come up to them. They go through what they call snake alley. They go into these situations, again, without fear, and they go with compassion. And the attitude is, even though they're unhoused, that technically is their home, and they're going to respect their area. They're going to respect their encampment. Frequently, there are people in encampments that kind of become natural leaders and caretakers of the other people in the encampment. So the team is really quick to identify and make friends with those folks, because if you can establish the trust with that person, you've kind of gotten the buy-in for the whole group. So we see a lot of that. We see people in encampments not only take the help, but sometimes identify friends that might need help and kind of bring them to us also, like, oh, you need to come and talk to this person. So I would say they spend at least half of their day out in the field doing direct service, and a good part of their day working behind the scenes, making up that follow-up call. Did they go to their first appointment? Do you need help going to your appointment? And the HEART team is also the front door for behavioral health bridge housing, which is usually in tiny homes, a converted hotel, a converted assisted living facility. We got really creative, and they're the front door. And that's helped a lot, because now they have something they can offer above just some water and resources. They can offer them shelter. And that, again, has made a huge difference, because again, it's a lot easier to take care of yourself and the things you need to do to recover when you have a roof over your head. So being able to offer that to people has been so exciting. I think I last looked, we have served over 600 individuals, and we have seen people go to housing from the shelter. So, and there's people, sometimes it takes them a few weeks, and some people it could take, 12, 16, 18 months to get stable and situated to go into housing. Yeah, so pretty exciting. They do a lot, and the HEART team goes into all of those places also to connect with people and assess and do on the spot counseling. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And they also work with the W3 team, that's Wellness Without Walls. So they team up, and while they're visiting the shelters, they visit at the same time as these medical professionals. And literally, it's an array of services. You come, you check in at the table, you get your blood pressure taken. Do you need your meds? Do you want to talk to a counselor? And they could talk to them immediately. So that's been pretty exciting. And sometimes we even pair up with local animal agencies. I believe the name is PAWS, who also go to the shelters and serve people's animals. Because again, I don't know about you, I'm a pet owner. If my dog was really sick and I couldn't feed him, I think I would want to take care of him first before I went to an appointment. So, and we even work with them for resources to get their animals spayed, neutered, vaccines. We take all sorts of pets, like bearded dragons, a rooster, a parrot, a goldfish, and dogs and cats. So that's been really excellent too, to be able to accept animals. Because again, there's a lot of people who will not get housing if it means they can't bring their pets with them. That's their babies. That's who's been protecting them the whole time. So the heart team also has dog and cat food on them most times, and sometimes leashes, toys, anything we could do. Because again, building rapport, trust, taking care of those needs, and making friends with their pets goes a long way also.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel a lot of pride, not for myself, but my team and the work that they do. I couldn't be prouder of the folks I work with. Even our administrative team who works in the office, they're doing the bookkeeping, the ordering, and all of that stuff. All of them joined our team because they wanted to work with homelessness. And I won't give names or too many stories, but some of them themselves experienced homelessness or mental health issues or knew people who experienced it and sought to become a part of our team. So that's another part I love about it. Even behind the scenes, everybody who's there is all about homelessness. We have somebody who does not have a mental health background. Actually, none of my admin team does, but they have the passion and they've done amazing work to help, including making programming for families. So now one of our behavioral health bridge housing sites takes small families with small children because, it is small cabins. So you can't have the Brady Bunch there. But we even accept women who are close to giving birth. So they know they're already in a shelter. There's already a crib there waiting for their baby when they have it. They connected with the local school district and other resources to make sure there's programming for children. They've put in like a playground. Again, take care of pets there also. So it's a really neat mix of senior citizens, so a bunch of grandmas and grandpas everywhere, and young small families. So that was something our admin team, she's a program planner, really fought and advocated for. So it's really neat to see how everybody contributes and comes to the team with a passion. So I feel pride in that, is that everybody who's there is very sincere about the work they do and very motivated.
Wow.
Yeah, they're a lovely group of people.
The heart team grew a lot. It started with you and Mr. Young, and now how many team members you have total?
Well, we now have 2 of us as managers. Kate has stepped up because it's grown so much. So we have at least 22 people doing just the heart piece. And now with the Behavioral Health Services Act, which used to be called the Mental Health Services Act, there are funds for what we call housing interventions, where we can use funding from BHSA to pay for a security deposit, to help pay a couple months of rent, to help a person navigate housing, to help a person. We're also connecting more with our outside partners, like our managed care plans, who can offer what they call transitional rent, housing navigation, housing transition. So we've grown so much. We've kind of had to split, and I'm helping our providers get trained up and knowledgeable. So as these resources come out, they can tap them for their clients. So that's been exciting. That again, it went from something tiny that only 1 or 2 of our programs dealt with something that all our programs are expected to deal with. They're all expected to offer these housing supports. And so I'm kind of in the background making sure they're getting trained, they know what the regulations are, and they're using the resources for the clients. So it might be a little boring behind the scenes, a lot of administrative work, but it's needed because it's a new resource and I want everybody to know about it and to use it. So that's been kind of fun, just educating everybody about what's out there. And it's always great when people report back stories of things they were able to do to help folks escape homelessness using these resources. So maybe I don't get the client contact. I miss that. I'll be totally honest. I love hearing about the success stories, and that's something we share. Because like you said, you see a lot of negative media. You see people focusing on what's not working instead of what is working. Homelessness is an economic and a housing problem. It is not a problem or a fault of the people experiencing it. Simply not enough housing units in our community. I know I'm very proud of the over 200 shelter beds we were able to use, fund with granting. We will have about 600 units of permanent supportive housing available to our clients. but that's still nowhere near enough what we need. Also, income is an issue. In order to get like a 1-bedroom apartment here in town, I think recently they estimated you would need to work 80 hours a week at a minimum wage job. So that's hard. First of all, it's hard to get employed when you don't really have a steady employment history. And then a lot of these people would be willing to work the 80 hours. They just simply can't. So it is an economic and a housing problem. And again, folks, if they were mentally ill, I think it worsens their symptoms. And if they weren't mentally ill, now they're susceptible to it. Because the truth is, I think all of us in our life know somebody who's had a drinking problem, or somebody who's had a divorce, or somebody who is experiencing bipolar, but they have their medication. So mental illness and substance use in and by itself, I do not believe is the leading cause of homelessness. It's the economics and the housing. But again, once you become homeless, I don't know about you, but I do spend time considering what that experience would be like. And I've seen enough in encampments and shelters to know that I would struggle. I would have anxiety. I would have nightmares. I would have trouble sleeping. I would become depressed. And frankly, I look at some of these folks that are working hard to get out of homelessness, and they amaze me. Their courage and strength, because I don't know if I could do that struggle for as long as some of them do. I think a lot of my time is also advocating for this population and educating people that we really need to get away from this myth that it's something wrong with them somehow. And unfortunately for them, some of the people you see maybe downtown, you see that classic stereotype of somebody experiencing homelessness who's very symptomatic, might be a disturbance or might cause people to be uncomfortable. That is not the full homeless population. There's a lot of hidden homeless. There's a lot of people living in cars. There's a lot of people, staying in people's backyards and tents and sheds. Families especially hide because they're afraid of losing their children, which is terrible. Luckily here in Sacramento, you will not lose your children because you're experiencing homelessness. That would not be what would get you, what they say, in trouble with CPS. It would be negligence or safety, things like that. So, there's a lot of people that hide out. About 40% people experiencing homelessness have a job. So there's also that myth that they're not doing anything to help themselves. When I did the shelter, the weather emergency shelter, and I admit I'm a little ashamed of myself, I was surprised by how many people were getting up early to go to jobs. And I was just like, wow, of course they have jobs. Even myself can catch myself still having some stereotypes about this population or assumption. Yeah, so that is my passion, is not only serving them, but advocating and educating about them.
Yeah, so I got a little emotional because we see this every day. Because what the PIT counts is showing probably 8,000 or 9,000 people are facing homelessness or unhoused in Sacramento, right? But as you mentioned, a lot of people are hidden. Like they are sleeping in the car, or they are couch surfing, or a lot of people are just the guilt about like sharing. They cannot say in public that I'm homeless.
Yes.
It's just very heartbreaking how they are surviving and living their life.
Yeah, I worked with a gentleman. I keep thinking of these stories that moved me. It was a gentleman who had spent a lot of time in prison, and he wasn't proud of his past, and he unfortunately had some white supremacist tattoos. He had since rejected that, but he didn't have the money to get them removed. He refused to say it with his sister, not because he was still racist. He was so ashamed of his tattoos and past, and the fact that she was married to an African American. He was so ashamed. He chose to live in his car instead of live with her, because he just couldn't bring himself to making that gentleman so uncomfortable. He was like literally in tears with shame about it. And that made it kind of difficult for him to get employment, because these tattoos you cannot easily cover with like a t-shirt or something like that. The gentleman would have to wear long sleeves and a turtleneck. So just seeing these struggles, that if he had had the resources, he would have had all of that removed. He had turned over that new leaf. So it's all these unique stories of just circumstance that works against people. That one really touched me because he was very sincere in his belief change. So there's people out there like that hiding in a car. If you got out of that car, you would think he was just a regular person. Other than the tattoos, very clean shaven, very well presented, very well spoken. And yeah, you wouldn't know he was homeless if you ran into him on the street. Yeah, it's those folks that people don't realize are out there too and need that support.
If you had a megaphone in the city council or board of supervisors meeting and you have all the funding of California, how would you change the homelessness issue?
We need a variety of settings to help these folks. So it would be all about roofs over heads, and it would be a spectrum. Everything from congregate shelters to tiny cabins to mobile home parks, converted apartment complexes. Some people need frequent support until they get stable. For example, I don't know if you all remember Project Room Key when there was that. It was great because they could live semi-independently in their apartment, but they had case managers coming around, making sure they're okay, making sure they're fed, stepping in if somebody's upset, stepping in if there's like an issue between roommates or something like that. And some folks, they're ready to go into an apartment tomorrow. So I would say we need 8,000 at least beds in our, we need at least 8,000 beds or units of market rate rentals in our community. And it needs to be a spectrum from folks that might need 24/7 support till they kind of clear up to, again, just move them right into an apartment. So I would say, please give us units. We're already visiting people, so we'll visit them a little bit more. Give me a little bit more staff, and we'll visit all of them.
Right.
And the connection between shelter and behavioral health, I will say the board has been on board with that. But no, really, they have been on board with that, and they've been very supportive of it, and we've been able to report out good results. So I would say, give me more housing and give us some more staff, and you will see a visible difference in a change of homelessness. Yeah, because you need places like where I've worked previously, like at Crisis Res, I'd have homeless specific little treatment places. Those folks a lot of time just needed to get their meds stabilized and they were ready to go. So that'd be a perfect example. More crisis residential programs where they can hang out for 2 to 4 weeks and get their injectable medication. That's a very valuable intervention. Medication doesn't work for everybody, but for a lot of folks experiencing psychosis or living with schizophrenia, injectable medications will last for weeks. So even if they are experiencing homelessness, they have their meds in them. We're not worried about them taking a pill every day. Units, more staff, and especially more staff that can help people get connected to the right medication to help them clear up. Because again, it's really hard to take your medications consistently when you're experiencing homelessness, and it gets very frequently reported that their medication gets stolen. There is a street value, unfortunately, to some of these meds.
I love the idea. We need more housing.
Yeah.
Because if you look at from the state level, our governor's pushing for approving a lot of funds.
Yes.
And it's coming through DHCS, correct?
Correct.
Director Bass is working on the policies, and here, like policy, whole person care, the CalAIM is saying that housing is health.
It is. It is.
So the managed care plans working with a lot of CVOs to make sure, like Anthem, HealthNet, or Kaiser.
Yep. Yeah, we've been working with them because it is going to be a coordinated effort. CalAIM is limited. I'm sure our governor would give us more if there was more. It's limited to 6 months of rent and a one-time household setup fee. So those folks, if they're not ready to be housed or if they're not fully self-sufficient after those 6 months, we pick up where they left off with that Behavioral Health Services Act funding. We're able to take over rent for month 7 and continue to work with them on the housing piece. So it has been exciting coordinating with the managed care plans. We meet with them regularly, developing referral flows. We're going to be piloting case management with those community-based organizations providing the CalAIM services. and the county to just make sure nobody slips through the cracks as we coordinate care with each other. So it has been really exciting. It's been exciting to work with the state. They have been very open to feedback from people on the front lines about what's working, what's not working. But yeah, housing is health. It's kind of gone into law. All the managed care plans must provide this transitional rent and housing navigation. So it's pretty exciting to see that it is health. I mean, again, imagine having to sleep in a tent behind a grocery store and not knowing if somebody's going to hurt you or steal your meds or something like that. Yeah, you're not going to seek treatment. You're going to seek safety. You're going to seek food. You're going to seek protection. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting. I'm very glad we live in a very progressive community. I have to show off about Sacramento County. Sacramento County is valued by DHCS and some other partners, and we frequently pilot or are some of the first handful of counties to implement things. So that's been exciting. It's because we are so progressive in this community and so willing to look at a variety of interventions to help people. So I'm proud of that also for Sacramento County. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing a lot of inside knowledge, which public don't have access. Probably they can, but they don't know. I think most people just would like to complain about when it comes to government agency. But I think it takes a lot of empathy, courage, and a lot of hard work behind the scene you guys are doing to make sure that our population is being served and their medical necessity, housing necessity, whatever they need, food, everything, a lot of work behind the scene is happening.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious how Sacramento County working with DHCS to make sure that you guys are merging and focusing on the main thing.
That's a great conversation because, like I said, we're piloting it. Sacramento does a lot of firsts. Literally, we're working with Community Health Works. And goodness, I'm gonna forget their name. They're another great agent.
Jillian. She's the CALIM director in Community Health Works.
Yes, no, this is another agency. Oh, I'm gonna feel so bad, but they're great also. We're
United Way.
Yes, thank you so much. I love United. They're both great agencies. So we're like, here's the first set of referrals. Here you go. Let us know how it's going. Let us coordinate with you. If you're having trouble reaching these people, or let's coordinate what's going to be their housing support plan. We're going to discuss how that plan works. We're going to be sharing information in the homeless management information system. So we'll be able to see each other's clients and mutual clients. So we're excited about Just First. It's all about collaboration and relationships. So important in this field. So we're talking to both of those providers like on a weekly basis as we do these initial referrals to work out any kinks before it expands and it gets implemented across the county. We are constantly communicating with the managed care plans about what's new, how are the referrals going, how can we support people. We're doing the case management piece. And again, I think being able to share mutual clients through the homeless management information system, HMIS is going to be invaluable because again, we'll have sight into who our mutual clients are, and you can even use that platform to communicate with other people working with that client. So we literally from Sacramento County can go, oh, this is a mutual client and they are working with Community Health Works, which is, contracted with one of the managed care plans. We could go like, hey, we're looking for this gentleman. He's missed his therapy appointment. Or they can reach out to us like, this phone number isn't working for him. Can you give us an alternative? Or, oh, he's almost at 6 months of rent, but, he's going to need a couple of more until he saves up, for his, regular rent or gets a job or whatever. So that's exciting. I would say between me and my fellow team members, one of us is meeting with either the state or a managed care plan at least once a week, literally at least once a week. And the communication must be daily.
Yeah, thank you for coming to the Sacramento Pod Color Ready. We have been actively joining and sharing your insight because when it comes to CBOs, community-based organization, we have a lot of question about, okay, the transition rent supposed to be live up and running from January 1st, 2026. And while you were sitting at July, it's still because I believe Anthem and Kaiser partnered up with Sacramento County.
Yes.
And Sacramento County is saying that it's everything depends on behavioral health component, right? If our community members don't have mental health component involved, then they won't be qualified for the transition rent. That's a huge.
Yeah.
Do you think it's limiting our unhoused population to get the help?
Well, fortunately, this is temporary because it is such a large program, and it's taken some time to implement because of some challenges and hiccups along the way. They're focusing on folks with behavioral health issues first.
Okay.
Because it's considered a more vulnerable population. Because I believe it will become for everybody who's got like a medical issue or health issues. So it won't be only behavioral health down the road. It will also be medical health issues too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really, really great news for the community.
Yeah. So if you like, especially co-occurring, so if you're experiencing diabetes and high blood pressure, or you had an amputation or something like that, they're really looking for folks that are the most vulnerable and prioritizing those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when you started the HEART program.
Exactly.
Pilot, right?
Exactly. You start small and then it goes through the whole community. And that's kind of where we are right now, is in those initial stages. Yes. Yeah. And right now they're actually focusing on folks in behavioral health housing, because they are kind of ready to move on, and it'll open up more shelter for folks that need it, that are still on the street. So in our community, we're looking at that population first to get some flow and open up some beds.
Yeah, I think when it comes to community-based organization, a lot of great organization, like you mentioned, Community Health Works, Bay Area Community Services, or United Way, Hope Cooperative. There's so many, right? Small and big.
We couldn't do the work we do without our CBOs. We actually have two brand new to the county CBOs that are focusing on a couple of our zip codes that have disproportionate amounts of poverty and homelessness. Neighborhood Wellness Foundation and Color the Block. They're kind of like small, but they're very deeply embedded in their communities. And their staff are people with lived experience from their own communities. And they've already been doing the outreach work. They've already been going to encampments and helping families. So contracting with them and giving them the ability to also provide mental health services on top of all the great work they're already doing, super exciting. Not only do we have a bunch of great organizations, we're always willing to partner with new ones. Not new to us, but we're helping them expand their efforts. So yeah, no, our CBOs are fantastic. I don't think it's a secret. I've worked for some of the CBOs before I worked for the county, and I really value my experience with them. The folks doing this frontline work, working with this population, are special people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's not. Again, it's all about heart, because I don't know. I just see them as regular people, because if I didn't have my family or my partner, I had a sudden emergency and no income, that could easily be me. It could be any of us in this world. So there are people just like us who had some misfortune. So yeah, they're just people. And I have a hard time understanding why other people don't understand that.
I could be wrong, but I think there's a study has been published. Average American is 2 paychecks away to become homeless.
Yep. I don't mind disclosing, with the way things have been going and the way the life is getting more expensive, my mortgage is only half of what the going rent is in my neighborhood right now. So if I had to rent my own house, I would have to pay something that would be double my mortgage. So, and I feel like I'm in a pretty secure place in my life, but you know, if there was a medical emergency or something like that, yeah, it could be any of us. And again, I've also seen what people have to go through, which has really softened my heart, because I saw people really trying. But you have to go to this appointment over here, and then you have to figure out how to get a bus over there, and that's going to be 2 hours. And then they lost your wallet when you were at the hospital, and then you have to go and find that, but somebody stole your meds. And just seeing that happen to people every day, it was obvious they weren't the problem. It was the rest of us that were the problem.
I want to ask you one question, Monica, not as you work as a county, like as a human, as a resident of Sacramento. So I'll share a story with you. So one day I came to the office, I saw like a senior lady and she's saying, can you get me an Uber? I'm saying, of course, I'm more than happy to help you. So can I have your phone? So no, I don't have a phone, but here's the number. You can call an Uber. I'm like, since when you can call Uber? Maybe it's taxi. She don't know. So I got the paper and there's a bunch of numbers on that paper. I'm like, which one I should call? And she's probably 70 plus. So I'm confused, like, okay, let me try. It's like before 8 a.m. in the morning. So I keep trying one phone and it went to like, I think one clinic, one of the CBOs. So nobody picked up the phone. I said, okay, let me try another one. I left a voicemail. Then it was Anthem Transportation. I'm like, wow, Anthem has dedicated. So Anthem is doing incredible work. So I'm like, wow, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Then I called, nobody picked up the phone. They diverted the call to, I think, the Motive Care for transportation. Then nobody picked up the phone. Says they sent me a link for the app. So, okay, that's good. Let me try. Then me, when little, I'm not going to say I'm not very taxi, but I know a thing or two, right?
Yeah.
So I tried to download the app and I meant asking for her information. She don't even have ID. Okay.
Yeah.
So I got her information, trying to help her. Her zip code address is not matching with the app. And I'm getting frustrated and she's crying that what's going to happen. She said that she have some issues with her kidney, so she's not going to live very long. She's crying literally 8 in the morning. I'm like, wow, don't worry. I got you. Give me some time. I'm trying to help you. After that, after some time, back and forth, I got hold of someone and she said, okay, you need to schedule the appointment 5 days prior. I'm like, look, she's crying. If you can make an exception, could you please talk to the supervisor?
Yeah. Then
she said, give me a few minutes. She was really nice. She connected the supervisor. Supervisor approved it. Said, okay, we can do that. So where's the pickup? Is the address? I said, no, this is not the address. Because, it has to register address. Otherwise, you won't be able to pick her up. Then I said, could you please talk again? She back and forth. Finally, she said, okay, the transportation is going to come. So now where she's going to go? She don't know the address. She knows somewhere in Fair Oaks. She's mentioning one organization, which is one clinic, but where she's going to go at the appointment, she needs to confirm with the transportation. Then after Google search, after some time, 1 hour, 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I finally found this BERT program or something like that in Fair Oaks. Then they had to call the program to make sure she has an appointment for today.
Yeah.
They confirmed and they said the transportation is going to come in 30 minutes, but later I found out it took more than 2 hours to arrive. But luckily, she got her transportation.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Good.
So I believe what I have done for her, that's why the DHCA's CalAIM program, the ECM program under MCP's CalAIM, right? I just did volunteer help her.
Come and work with us. I'm telling you, you did. That was that's what these folks need. My grandma, when she was 70, she would have a hard time doing that kind of stuff. She was probably somebody's grandma, 70 years old, no phone. I doubt she's going to be able to work apps even if she got a phone. That's a perfect example of the kind of like support people need.
So the reason I shared this story with you, this is one of the story of thousands, if not, a lot more.
Yeah.
So my question to you, despite having so much resources, the county has resources, CalAIM has resources, DHCS has resources on behavioral health component, so much funding in our community, but what's the gap? What's missing?
Units, roofs, a bit of compassion, I think, is missing too. Again, I think it's a bit of compassion is needed, and the housing units. And I can understand that if you're a business owner or you have small children, that, people experiencing homelessness do sometimes act out or have behavioral difficulties. I get that. But to just have a bit more compassion, because the truth is, even if every person experiencing homelessness, I waved a wand and went boop, and they could all be fully employed, we couldn't house them. We couldn't. So getting frustrated and blaming the folks experiencing homelessness for not being housed just doesn't make sense. So it would be compassion and again, more housing units.
I believe you're exactly right. The housing units, but also the wrap around support.
Yes.
Whole person care.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, I've seen it work. I think you may have heard of what they call wraparound, and they use it in the children's treatment world. And again, it's people wrap around that person. It might be like a peer staff and a therapist and doing these things like helping them navigate. Absolutely. It also works with adults. Adults also need somebody to wrap around them also. Some of our agencies that do higher intensity services, that's exactly what they do, is they have like an entire team surrounding a person. And people do start to clear up once they get housed. I have seen somebody gone from completely catatonic, where she was barely speaking to us, to becoming one of the most delightful clients I have ever worked with. It had so much spunk and personality. She was a senior. So I saw that, like, getting stable and being surrounded by supportive people. She went from somebody who didn't speak to somebody who was just a laugh riot. And that also reminds me that you shared this was an older person. Homelessness, it's a lot of seniors, a lot of our seniors. I think maybe a little bit more compassion for that. Because again, I think it's about 40% are over 55 in the last pit count. Like, that's a lot of grandmas and grandpas out there.
Yeah.
That's a lot of older folks who can't just necessarily jump into the job market. I've met at least a couple of women who became homeless because they became widowed and just either weren't employed or couldn't make it on their own. So, yeah, the seniors, yeah. I'm telling you, come work for the county. You could work for a CBO. I'll accept that.
Oh, that's why I have been blessed to be part of Sacramento Pod Collaborative,
Yeah.
and actively working to get contract with Kaiser and Anthem.
Excellent.
MCPs to become a CBO. So, because, I have been working, because I have access to a lot of units in Sacramento, more than 200 units.
Yeah.
In Fresno, more than 150 units. So I think having access to the units, and also if I have the case management component, which I know the pain, I see in the front line, that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah. Well, as soon as you get set up, let me know. I can get some referrals your way. Would not be a problem. No, and I do appreciate that you do work with this population just out of kindness. And thank God there's people in the community like that still. So, yeah, it's not just the government workers. It's anybody and everybody who can advocate for this population. It's valuable.
If you have to mention 3 heroes behind the scene, public don't know that what they're doing in Sacramento County and the government level, that changing people's lives, who those 3 person would be?
Well, first of all, I have to give Sherry Green, our division manager, credit, because this was all her vision. When I joined, there was only one agency that worked with people experiencing homelessness. And under her advocacy and guys, this is how everything grew. She's the one that planted that seed and continues to support this work. So absolutely Sherry Green. I would say also our housing developers. So there's not a single housing developer that does permanent supportive housing. There's a few here in town. Because again, not everybody wants to work with this population. So they're heroes in the fact that they are developing properties for people who were formerly homeless. So they know there's unique challenges and needs for that population. So I would say our developers, for sure, are heroes. God, this is so tough. Sherry, our developers. I would also say our director, Ryan Quist, because again, he is so supportive of the work we do and he advocates for us and, for lack of a better word, trusts us to implement things that make sense and serve this population. We've proven to him that, we're doing the work and it's working, and he continues to support our efforts, continues to look for ways to expand funding, new opportunities. So I would say our developers, Sherry and Ryan, but I literally could name a handful of staff from probably
please do.
Most of our CBOs. I'm just going to throw out names. Joe Smith at Hope Cooperative.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Joe is awesome. Joe had lived experience. 10 years ago, Joe was living on the streets. So I can't believe I forgot him. He's a hero because you see what happens when recovery works and you get support. So he is somebody who benefited from services and shelter services. And look at him now. He's a program director. He's like running all of these different sites. I would say just about anybody over at Turning Point. Originally, it was, oh my goodness. I'm just going to call out Alexis Bernard. She was a regional director over housing at the permanent supportive housing sites. Telecare, I don't know names because I don't work as well with people. There was a Shannon, like literally, if you give me a minute, I can think of somebody everywhere because every agency has at least a handful of people that are really all about this cause. And I would say some of our heroes are some of those CBOs actually working the streets, like the Homeless Union and Union Gospel, Loaves and Fishes. There's so many great people doing great work out there. But if it came to my team, it would be Sherry, Ryan, and our partnership with developers. But yeah, there's some amazing people out there that are literally hitting the streets every day. The Mercy Peddlers are great. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there, but those are the two main ones I would say right now.
It's incredible that you brought Joe, because he's not only he has lived experience, but he's leading the Continuum of Care Board chairperson.
Yes,
and you are one of the board person as well.
Yes, I'm on my third term now, so I have the joy of working with Joe, both on the board, and he's also over several of our behavioral health bridge housing sites too, because he does do the housing piece for Hope Cooperative. So I'm lucky to get to work with him.
Awesome. So people say the homeless refuse help. You said that help is just hard to reach. Break that down for someone who doesn't get it.
Imagine you're homeless. You're sleeping in a tent. You have been asked to move multiple times. So at this point, you're right next to a canal in a muddy field. Water has come into your tent and gotten all your things wet. You had some stuff stored outside, including some non-perishable food, but now it's wet. So you don't have anything dry and you don't have any food. What is going to be your number one priority that day? Getting dry, getting food. Let's say you're resourceful and that's not a problem for you. It's 10 a.m. and you have a chance to apply for housing, but you need an ID. Somebody stole your backpack the other night. Somebody who came to the encampment that's not usually there, so you don't have any ID. Okay, I need to go get an ID. How are you going to go get the ID? You have no money. You might take a risk and like jump the light rail, or you might get somebody get you a bus pass. You go down, you get to the ID. They only give you a paper copy. You got to wait another 2 weeks for the ID. You get the ID, you go and you try to apply. The paperwork is like a packet this big to get into permanent supportive housing sometimes because there's a lot of players in it. And maybe you have some difficulty with reading. You haven't filled out an application in a really long time. You don't know what this means. You don't have an address. You don't have a phone. Okay, so that's not going to get me anywhere. I'll still hold on to it and try filling it out. Okay, now I need to get back to the encampment. Maybe I have a partner or people waiting for me. And I call my therapist and I want to go see them. Great. They can see me, but I really need to see them today because I'm super stressed out. They can't see me today. They're all booked, but they say they can see me in 2 weeks. Maybe in 2 weeks, I'm not going to be interested. I'm not going to be able to. So I think people really need to understand these folks are struggling just to live day to day. So the idea of getting out a planner and going like on the 13th, I got to go here and then I got to meet with this person when, you're not even sure you're going to get food that day is really hard. So I would say that's the first thing. Imagine not even having your basic needs met. And then there's I'll be honest, the inconvenience. There is no one-stop shop for people experiencing homelessness, unfortunately. Ooh, that's an idea I could bring to the board. Literally a one-stop shop where you come and we'll help you get your ID. We'll help you fill out those applications. The support's kind of fractured in multiple locations. Like we can do what we can with our folks. We'll help them fill out those applications. We'll help them get to the appointments. But then there's the folks that don't have those connections. So yeah, a one-stop shop.
That's what I shared the story with you and the concept of whole person care and wraparound services,
exactly.
Right? So I just think if from DHCS or from county level, if we get, I know it's hard, a lot of money required, a lot of resources, but even a pilot program like you started with HURT, one-stop solution That would be amazing.
Well, these two new CBOs that we're working with, an element of the work they're doing is going to be a drop-in center where there'll be peer support staff who can help them fill out those forms, make those phone calls, look at the map and see what the best bus route is, and to give them the bus pass or maybe even give them a ride. So we're trying that on a very small scale in these 2 zip codes, and the hope is we can demonstrate its success and it could be replicated on a bigger scale. That's the idea. They'll not only be doing outreach to encampments, they're also going to be opening their agency with a drop-in center, and they can provide some basic needs stuff, some basic needs. And they're going to also be incorporating some job training opportunities in the help they're going to be giving people. So I'm rooting for them, and they're getting launched, but I think it's going to be successful.
I'm sure the leadership like you, Ms. Green, and other heroes is going to happen.
We're invested.
Yeah. Invested for the
long haul.
For the long haul. Okay, we're going to do some rapid fire question if you're ready.
Okay.
True or false? Most homeless people don't want help.
False, absolutely false, 100% false.
Biggest lie people believe about your job.
That we're not doing enough. And I could see how it looks like that, but that we're not doing enough.
Someone watching this clip right now, what did you say to them about your job and your work?
That there is work being done. It's just not always super apparent, and that we are moving the needle to a certain extent. At least behavioral health services is. We are getting those units. So we are moving the needle, and support does work.
100%. You guys deserve a lot of respect.
Oh, thank you.
It's a lot of acknowledgement. Not
Thank
just,
you.
It takes a lot. Whoever works with our unhoused community members, it takes a lot of compassion.
Yeah. I don't know where it comes from. I was born to be a social worker type.
100%, I agree. Something you saw in a camp that would shock people in a good way.
Oh, in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Resourcefulness, and how people take care of each other. Folks out there in the encampments, yes, sometimes there's danger living in an encampment, but what would surprise folks is how much folks do kind of care about each other and take care of each other out there. It's pretty amazing. There's this idea of and of course there's criminality everywhere. It's great. I've seen homeless people literally take a shirt off their back to give to another homeless person. So it's amazing. Sometimes it seems to be the people who have least that are also trying to help their fellow man. So the 100%. Amount of generosity and compassion amongst them is incredible.
Every time I buy something for them, they would not eat alone. Always looking for the next person. Hey, come share with me.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. One word people use about homelessness, you wish they would stop using.
I really wish they would stop using that word, because
they're like you and I, regular people.
Exactly. They just might not have the right medication, or they're experiencing a crisis. So crazy. And the second one, I'm sorry, I'm giving you a second one because it also starts with a C, criminal. Crazy and criminal. I would remove those from the vocabulary in the discussion.
Thank you for sharing that. Something Sacramento County does that no other county does in our California.
I would say we definitely do some things that are a little bit unique. I'm going to talk about BHS, our own department. We stood up a shelter from a flat piece of ground to little cabins that people could move into in 10 months, in less than a year. So our grantor, or the grant we worked with, they told us that was pretty much the only time they'd seen that happen. So, and again, that was a developer, it was us, it was this grantor, it was Hope Cooperative, all working together, and we kind of set a record. So I would say that is definitely unique. And also unique about us is because we're progressive in a larger county, we do have folks reach out to us other counties for guidance, and we work a lot with DHCS. So I would say that's kind of unique. We've got our fingers in all the pies, and we're talking to everybody every chance we get. But those 10 months, that was a record we set.
If Heart had a theme song, what that would be?
Oh my goodness, I would have to ask them. Well, because it's such a diverse group of people on the team. I would think each one would have their own soundtrack, to be honest with you. So I don't know if I could do a song for the whole team, but I could probably put a soundtrack together for you for each one of our staff. I'm gonna have to go back and ask them that. What song they would pick for themselves.
If one of your team member deserve a shout out right now.
Kate Paulson. I actually used to supervise Kate. And again, because the efforts had become so big, Kate will be monitoring and working with the Heart team. I started it, but I'm handing the baton to her, and it's in very good hands because she was actually in the encampments. She was actually working with the partners.
Okay.
She was actually out there. So she was started as a clinician, started to kind of manage the team under me, and now her and I are equal colleagues and peers. And so it's been great to work with her.
That's
Yeah.
incredibly inspiring.
Yeah. No, we really like to see our team rise up. So we really encourage growth amongst our team members, trainings, promotions. We want to see them grow.
That's wonderful. If every business owner and neighbor in Sacramento was listening to this right now, what's the one thing you want them to know about your department and Sacramento County?
Sacramento County listens. Honestly, they listen. We use community feedback sessions and input from regular community members and partners, and we really incorporate it into our response and in our interventions. So we listen. And Sacramento being one of the most diverse cities in America, that's another shout out that people should know about us, which is pretty awesome. I think you see that in how we approach homelessness and behavioral health. We recognize that it's not just one kind of person, one kind of service. We respond to the needs across the board, regardless of your ethnicity, age, background, So we respond and listen to our community.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I really appreciate you, Monica.
Oh.
You shared a lot of insight and
Yes.
golden nuggets.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure. It was fun. No, just thinking about how much has actually really happened in this community in the last year, 10 years is pretty amazing.
Does it feel like we are wrapping up right now because out of time, but we can keep talking about this, right?
All day.
It's like it's just so much information and so much hard work and compassion goes behind the scene.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in the community understand that, but a lot of them don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's that stereotype, that one person that might be creating a little bit of a nuisance, and they don't think about everybody else and how it can really look.